be going over these train tracks and then we'll get our acceleration. Yeah, definitely pretty smooth with that. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be going over a 2021 Chevy Tahoe Z71. First and foremost though, a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Chevy here in Murray for giving me some time with the Tahoe. Check out their inventory and link below. Let's get straight into the video. So under the hood, we have a naturally aspirated 5.3 liter V8 that goes through a 10-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 16 around town and then 20 on the highway, with power outputs being 355 horsepower and then 383 pound-feet of torque. Now let's go to the front end of the Z71 Tahoe. First off, I absolutely love the red paint on this particular Tahoe. Now coming down below, we've got the full LED lights with the LED accent light. We have our Z71 badge. Notice that the whole, well, most of the grille at least is blacked out except for these bars that go across. And we've got the blacked out Chevy bow tie. And then coming down below, we've got the red tow hooks and then the skid plate that pops out. This looks so cool, especially in person. And then we've got the black accenting right there. But yeah, overall, this has to be, bar none, the best looking Tahoe from a front end perspective. Now coming on the side here, we've got two 75mm tires wrapped around 20-inch wheels in the front and over in the rear. And then we have Chevy's premium smooth ride suspension. I mean, well, that's what it says on the window sticker, right? But anyways, you guys can see that, well, at least part of that setup. You can see these tires are a little bit more aggressive from the factory. I love the design on the wheel. We've got our Z71 badge, and then we've got our Tahoe badge just down below. And yeah, just look at this from a side angle again. Just looks fantastic. Now popping here into the rear, first off, notice we've got the extra storage space underneath. Since this is the Tahoe, you don't have as much storage space as you'd get in the rear with the Suburban. I love the metallic plaques here in the back. And then notice with the third row, you just pull that strap to basically pull it back up, and then you just pull this to throw it forward. So it's a really seamless, easy system to use. And well, that's all for the back. So press the button right there and wait for it. Bada bing, bada boom. Now finishing things off in the rear, you guys know I'm a huge fan of the styling on the taillights with the Tahoe, and you've got the Chevrolet logo there in the center. And then I like how they do the pillows right there in black. We've got our Tahoe badge and then the Chevy badge as well. Got the little bezel for the receiver hitch, and well, that's all for the rear. Now here's a door panel in the back. First off, we have nice leather here all over the door panel, and then soft touch where you're gonna rest your arm. Got the door lock and unlock control, the window control, speaker for the Bose sound system, and then here is the seat in the second row. Got the nice headrest right there with all the stitching that goes throughout, all of your adjustments on the seats. And then you can see the climate controls just down below. And then you guys already kind of saw the third row. This is mainly gonna be on the driving, so I'm not really gonna pop back there like normal. Plus, I've popped back in enough Tahoe, so you guys know the space there is really good for the second row. The third row is not as good, but you can still fit adults back there, and that's all. See ya. Now here's a door panel in the front. So again, we've got all of the soft touch leather all throughout with the wood trim. Got the door handle down here, and then all of the window controls. Again, another speaker for the Bose sound system. And then here's the seats at the front. Again, you've got the leather with the stitching all throughout. Power adjustments right there. Pedal layout just down below. We've got our light control right here, and then this is the drive mode select. Drive line select is right there. It's got the hill descent control, the stability control. Parking sensors, auto stop start, that is for the plugs. And then we've got our trailer brake controls. There's one more look before we pop in. Now going over the steering wheel here on the Z71, we've got soft touch leather all around, and then you've got your voice command phone controls, controls for the center stack, and then we've got this for the cruise control follow function, radio controls on the back, and then you've got the little turn signal / windshield wiper stalk, and well, that's all for the steering wheel. Now here's a center gauge cluster. We've got the RPMs on the left side, and the right side we've got the speed, and then you've got all those auxiliary gauges there at the top, and we do have a little screen there in the center which lets us scroll through a couple of different menus here with the Tahoe Z71. Now again, there are some different drive modes we can go through. We've got our normal, sport, and then our off-road and our tow haul mode, so there's quite a bit that you can actually use this for, which is pretty cool. Now here's the center infotainment system. First off, if we pop it into reverse, we've got the backup camera. Notice it has the trajectory lines with it, and then you do have the zoom function as well. Now, aside from the whole camera system, with the infotainment system, response time on the screen is fantastic. It comes with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and yeah, overall it's just a really good infotainment system. You guys can see there now with the response time, and well, yeah, that's all for that. To ever hold transmission selector here, some of them are buttons and some of them you have to pull, so yeah, just have fun with that. But a quick side note, the ones that have the deep grooves right here, those are the ones that you pull, and if it doesn't have a groove, then, well, you push it. Anyways, we've got some vents here with some more leather trim. We've got the analog controls for the infotainment system, and then we've got our dual zone climate controls down here. Heated seats, you can do just part of the seat or the full seat, and then you can control the rear climate from the front here. Wireless phone charger, a couple more cup holders. We've got our center console, and lifting that up, you can see storage space is pretty good with that. And we've got more leather here, and then we've got the random storage space, which I always mess up. There we go. That's how you open that. Yeah, it's just this random storage space thing, and I don't know. It is what it is. And then we've got the little hazard light button right next to that. And then glove box, and again, like I said, there's nice leather all over the whole dash. And then we're finishing things up top. Got the full panoramic sunroof right here, and then that is just for the rear hatch, universal garage door openers, controls for the sunroof, and yeah, that's all. So here's our window sticker for the Tahoe Z71. Feel free to freeze the frame if you want to read all the exact equipment that this comes with from the factory. There's our total MSRP, $64,450. Wait for it. Wait a little bit longer, and a little bit longer. Let's take her out and see how she drives. Oops. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off here on the Tahoe. There's your visibility of the hood, both of the mirrors, and then throughout the rest of the rear. Let's set off. So we're setting off here in the Tahoe Z71. First off, let's talk about the road noise and the ride quality. So from a ride quality perspective, definitely has a nice, smooth, compliant ride to it. So that is a huge plus if you ask me. And then aside from the ride quality, from a road noise perspective, again, it's actually pretty quiet here in the interior, so that's solid as well. So from a daily driver perspective, fantastic. Now, aside from those aspects, let's talk about how this kind of feels from an acceleration perspective. So like low end with the 5.3 V8 does a really good job. Now this doesn't have nearly as much torque as the 6.2, but when you're at lower speeds, there's really not too much of a perceivable difference. The biggest difference is when you actually get on it a little bit more, then you can really feel the speed and power difference between both of them. And then in terms of the tire noise, now that I've driven this for a little bit longer, it's actually pretty minimal. You do hear a little bit of tire noise, but again, it's really minimal. Now taking a turn here with the Tahoe, definitely can feel that it's a larger sized SUV, but I mean, turn is actually pretty good. I definitely like the steering rack on this. It definitely has a nice amount of directness to it, so there's definitely that going for it. And then let's go over a couple of these manholes on purpose. Yeah, I mean, still really compliant over it. So they did a good job with the suspension on this. And so I could definitely tell that this would actually be pretty smooth off-road from a suspension standpoint, going down a few of the high-speed trails and all that kind of stuff. This thing would definitely be fun. We'll see the brakes are coming up to here. Yeah, brake feel is really good as well. Definitely has a nice progressiveness to it. So we're gonna be going over these train tracks, and then we'll get our acceleration. Yeah, definitely pretty smooth with that. Definitely love the sound of the 5.3 V8. Definitely has a nice sound quality to it. Then aside from that, with the acceleration itself, again, it's pretty good. That's where you feel the difference between this and the 6.2 V8. This doesn't feel quite as quick as the 6.2 when you really get on it, and hopefully you guys were able to kind of see that with this compared to the other like Tahoes and Suburbans I've driven with the 6.2 V8. Now aside from that, let's kind of get into the main topic of today's video. Is this kind of like a sneak peek to the new Silverado ZR2? And I think potentially, so stylistically with the front skid plate, I think they're definitely going to do that with the Silverado ZR2 as well. Definitely has a cool aesthetic to it and people love it, and so I think that they'll throw that onto the front end. Now from a suspension standpoint, you can get these with the MagneRide suspension and then also the adjustable suspension as well. And so is that going to be in the ZR2? I don't necessarily think so. I think they're going to kind of stick with a more traditional system. So I think they're going to just do beefier shocks than what you currently get in the Trail Boss with the Rancho shocks. And so I think that this is just kind of partially a sneak peek, right? The interior, the interior layout with the infotainment system, all that kind of stuff, I think that that's somewhat of a sneak peek, but more on the GMC side. So like if you guys have seen the new Yukon, I think that kind of interior dash layout's a little bit more of a sneak peek with what they're going to do with the Silverado. And then in terms of the looks, I think that they'll go for a similar look with the red tow hooks, the skid plate showing on the front end to kind of give it that cool off-roader type look. But I don't think they're going to do the suspension that you can get with this. I think that they're just going to kind of stick with a standard setup. And so, yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that. But aside from that, that is everything for this Chevy Tahoe Z71. And I guess the other thing I will say is I definitely prefer this to the Suburban. The Suburban Z71 is cool, but this just makes more sense, right? It's an off-road package, so you're going to want the shorter wheelbase because that's going to do better off-road, and it looks cooler with the proportions. That's going to sum things up for our video on this 2021 Chevy Tahoe Z71. And again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Chevy here in Murray for giving me some time with the Tahoe. Check out their inventory in the link below. I'll see all of you in the next video.